Welcome to the Run Radio podcast. My name's Trina, and Run Radio is all about the unconventional champions, people that are kind of forging their own pathways, doing things in the unconventional way. And my guest today is no different. Welcome, Taylor Gunter.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, you are a young entrepreneur, and you've kind of decided to you've done the mainstream 9 to 5, but you also decided to kind of deviate from that. Can you kind of go back and talk about your work path and how it's kind of changed and evolved?
Yeah, so I think that my story is a lot like most people's who jump into entrepreneurship. I um, I did do the 9 to 5, the working for other people thing, and I found that a lot of employers, one, they were even risking my life at some points for their businesses and not really appreciating that I was doing that for them. And I also was a single mom. I've been a single mom for a really long time, and my immune system is crap, and my son's immune system is crap. So we were sick a lot, and so we were constantly being threatened with loss of my job because of it. And yeah, so I just decided one day that I was just going to quit my cushy salary job and jump into entrepreneurship and work from home so that I didn't have to worry about my son and I could be there for him. So, and fortunately, it worked out. I've done that a couple times of just quitting jobs with no backup plans and just jumping in. And it's very, very, very stressful,
Yeah,
but it's rewarding as well. It's been nice.
that is a scary thing to do. I mean, a lot of people fantasize about it, but never actually go ahead and go through with it. How long did that take you from the idea of I really want to do this and you actually jumping for it?
I probably did not think about it as long as I should.
Okay.
I don't I wouldn't say that I'm impulsive, but I do very much so. If something in my life is making me unhappy, I will change it, and
Okay.
I will change it as soon as I can.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those things where like, okay, I'm very unhappy with what I'm doing right now, and just doing something else and hoping it works out.
Yeah. So what was it that you decided you were going to do once you decided, all right, I'm leaving this, I'm doing my own thing? How did you come to terms with what that would be?
So I jumped out of a sales job into transcription at first.
Okay.
So I did general transcription for multiple companies, just transcribing audio into Word. And that was very stressful. That's not work I suggest to anyone. That's yeah. Um, so I did that. And then I kind of got I decided I needed a break from working for myself
Mm.
and went back into employment, but it was remote work and it was flexible. So I got a job with a company out in California, being a sales assistant, basically a virtual sales assistant. And so I kind of embraced that and started freelancing on the side, doing sales assistant stuff, virtual assistant stuff. And then and let's see, the very end of 2020, I started Millennial Assistants. And that was when the pandemic was at its heights, peaks. And I had multiple business owners reaching out to me saying, hey, we have to work remote, but we don't know how to work remote. And like, we've never had to do it before. We've never had to hire a team remote. We've never had to work from home. So they came to me and were like, can you help us? And I was like, oh no, I can't. I have a full-time job. I'm homeschooling my kid. I have multiple clients on the side. Like, I'm booked. Um, But then the more I thought about it, the more I was just like, you know what, let's just do it. And so I hired one of my friends to help out with some of the overflow and started Millennial Assistants. And um, that's kind of how I ended up where I am now with Millennial Assistants. And we focus on um, a little bit more of development work now than we used to. But yeah, that's how I got where I am now.
And some of that you said earlier that your health was a main drive to making sure that you had a work environment that was conducive to you taking care of yourself. Do you care to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so aside from um, having a horrible immune system and just being sick a lot of my young adult life, especially, um, I also have multiple anxiety disorders. I am diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and agoraphobia, and I've struggled with that and depression for my entire life, pretty much. And so the anxiety um, does make it hard to hold a typical job, um, especially one like sales, like I had been in, which I love sales, but knocking on doors with an anxiety disorder is very difficult. Um,
Mhm.
so uh, needing to be able to be in control of my situation and my environment and my schedule, and not worrying about getting fired if I have a panic attack, um, things like that. So um, yeah, it's really worked out really well for me having getting to work from home and getting to work flexible hours with that.
For people that don't know a little bit about the differences between the two, general anxiety disorder and then the agoraphobia, what are the differences?
Generalized anxiety disorder is basically an anxiety or panic disorder that affects every aspect of your life. So whereas some people just have social anxiety or anxiety around certain situations, I have anxiety that is just always there. And then agoraphobia is the um, it's that phobia that you see on TV a lot, where people are afraid to leave their houses. It's not for me. It doesn't present the same way as it does in movies, and I think that it's just movies are just playing it that way. But it is mostly a fear of not being in your safe places and the fear of having panic attacks because of that. Or it's not really like the movies portray it as you're afraid the sky is going to fall because you walked outside, or you're going to, all these horrible scenarios that play out in your mind. It's not really like that. It's more of a fear of panic or embarrassment, or just being in situations where you're not in control. So, um, and agoraphobia does typically come from another anxiety disorder. So I have my generalized anxiety disorder that affects everything, and then eventually at some point you go out enough into the world and have enough panic attacks that you're like, oh no, if I go out into the world, I'm gonna have a panic attack. So now I'm gonna stay home. Um, so that's kind of what that looks like.
When did you first notice this was affecting your life and that it was becoming a problem?
I know I've had it pretty much forever, but um, to get into probably a little bit more detail than you want, I I broke up with my ex-fiance when I was 20, 21, something like that. And we had been together for a long time, and that breakup kind of triggered the anxiety a little bit more, I think. And so I noticed that I couldn't sleep and I couldn't eat and I couldn't do anything like I normally should be able to do. I wasn't functioning properly. So um, that's how I ended up with that diagnosis. And then I've just been working on um, controlling it ever since.
Was it hard for you to get yourself the care you needed, or did you pretty much realize, no, I've got to get there pretty quick?
It was definitely hard because I think that I had issues with it for a really long time without realizing what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I it definitely affected my relationships. And I think that maybe when I was young, I might have taken it out on other people without realizing what was wrong with me. Um, and so I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. We were just talking about getting yourself the care that you needed. Like if you were pretty quick on the draw, but you're saying, you feel like you've had this for a while. But at that point, when you were recognizing you were eating, sleeping, were you did you have help in getting to the doctor, or were you pretty good yourself going, look, I've got to do this?
So I think I decided to go to the doctor on my own, but I did have a conversation with my mom about, hey, this is what's going on. I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening, but I think I need help. And she was like, okay, go see this person. And so I did. And I've been on several medications since then. And I think I've finally gotten to a point where I'm pretty happy with the mix of medications that I'm on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was and it has been difficult, especially if you don't have insurance or if you don't have a primary care doctor, to remain on the medication and find the correct medication. I definitely struggled in that aspect of it for a long time.
And that's frustrating because anybody that's on medication needs to be able to have access to that and needs to be able to be consistent with that.
Hmm.
And I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but it's something that really has to be a priority in our country, and that is the healthcare and access to it. It's ridiculous for someone going through something to not be able to have what they need.
I agree, and especially something like SSRIs, you can go off of that and you get serotonin withdrawal, and it's not pretty, and it's something that can end you up in the hospital just because you've stopped taking your medications.
Dangerous.
Um,
Did that happen to you?
I spent plenty of times going through serotonin withdrawal, but was too stubborn to go to the hospital.
It's probably kind of hard since it's not easy to completely recognize that you've got to get there or what's happening because it is so psychologically involved. And it's, I don't know, you can speak to that more than I probably can, but I just don't imagine it would be easy for you to know exactly what's happening to you all the time.
Yeah, especially since doctors don't tend to educate you on these things whenever they put you on the medications.
Hmm.
Um, there are a lot of it's like the whole birth control being made ineffective by grapefruit. It's like they don't tell you that whenever they give you the birth control. Um, there's so many little rules that you start to learn with things like SSRIs and other antidepressants and things like that that um, they just don't tell you up front. And so one of those things is that, hey, you can't stop taking this cold turkey because you're going to feel really sick. Um, and I honestly don't know how. I think that I probably went off my medication at some point and started feeling like crap. And so I probably did a little bit of Googling and figured it out myself. But
Hmm.
yeah, then once that um, happens once or twice, you kind of catch on to the pattern. And yeah, and then it makes having to go off of your medication a little bit scarier.
So now that you feel like you've got a pretty good cocktail of medications that seem to be working for you, what are some other things that you've connected yourself that helps you have a sustainable, manageable lifestyle?
I'm sorry, one more time.
What are some of the things now that you've found that work for you besides just the medications? Like, do you have a
Oh,
exercise routine or sleep hygiene, or what are those things that you have noticed that work best for you and keep you going?
well, I'm not the best at self-care, so
Okay.
we'll get that out of the way right now.
Yeah.
I'm not great at that stuff. And I don't necessarily always do what's best for me. I kind of push through the pain a little bit, and um, one of the big things for me is that, especially with the agoraphobia, um, if I stop going out,
Hmm.
then it becomes harder to start going out again.
Yeah.
So the more I'm home, the more that phobia rears its head a little bit. Um, so making sure that I'm leaving my house on a regular basis, that I'm interacting with people on a regular basis, that even though I work from home, like I co-own a coffee shop, and so like I go hang out at the coffee shop, um, or go to networking events every now and then. Those are hard on my anxiety,
Yeah.
but just kind of pushing through it and being and telling myself, it's not actually going to hurt you.
Yeah.
It feels like it will, but it's not going to. And just I have um, branded myself a little bit with spite and caffeine,
Yeah.
and so spite and caffeine is my speaking brand, and it is based on the phrase spite and caffeine are the ultimate catalysts to change. So for me, spite is what keeps me going, and what gets me out of bed in the morning and gets me doing all those things that my anxiety says that I can't do or I shouldn't
Mhm.
do. Then it's me being spiteful and saying, "Watch me, I'm gonna do it anyway." And that is kind of my biggest trick for not letting it take over my life, is just being spiteful towards that anxiety and saying I'm gonna do it anyway. Like I'm terrified of the smallest things, and everything is difficult, but it's I'm just gonna do it anyway.
That's great. Sometimes you need that little defiance against what the rest of the world tries to tell you so you can get through. I
Mhm.
think that's excellent. Have you had a good support system? Have you had good family and friends support you throughout this discovery and journey?
It's felt a little lonely.
Okay.
Right now, I have the last year or two, I've had a good support system with my friends, and my current partner is very good. I actually have an issue with partners tending to want to do things for me.
Mm.
So then that kind of um, like, if one of us needs to run an errand, then he'll go run the errand, so I don't have to leave my safe space. And that can sometimes be it's a little enabling. But but for the most part, very, very understanding, very helpful, very and really all of my friends have been very supportive. I've been very open about my issues and my weaknesses, and talking it through with people. I mean, I introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Taylor. I have an anxiety disorder." So it's get that out of the way real quick so that everyone knows if I'm awkward, that's why. Um, and so a lot of my friends have become my friends because of that, or in spite of that, I'm not sure. But everybody's been very supportive, especially in like my networking circles. And um, yeah,
You think that's important for people to be pretty upfront with whatever they're going through for the understanding? I feel like I know I've been prone to hiding stuff or just kind of ignoring it because I don't want people to see that first. But I feel like that's not always the best way to approach it. How do you feel?
I think it depends on the person. I think that it is, I do believe that it is good to be as transparent with people as possible. I think that's how you inspire people and how you, um, I, yeah, inspire people is the big thing. Um, you are not perfect and you will never be perfect. And the people around you are not perfect. And so that makes you more relatable
Yeah.
to them if you are upfront about, hey, I'm not perfect. I have these issues. Even just especially with being an entrepreneur, if you start talking about, hey, this is what's going on in my business, it's not pretty because
Hmm.
it's usually not pretty.
Hmm.
Being an entrepreneur is up and down, and it's not pretty most of the time. And being able to be transparent about that with other people and let them know that you're not perfect and you know that you're not perfect and that that's okay. And then they hopefully are inspired to be transparent with you as well. And I think that really develops really strong relationships with the people around you rather than hiding everything and then being kind of living on that surface level with people.
There are probably other people out there right now that are suffering and not telling people what they're dealing with inside, and they don't have support from any friends or family. How would you suggest, what would you tell them so they can get that support?
Well, I would say that first of all, if you're not ready to have that conversation with somebody, then you're not ready to have that conversation with somebody. Like, don't force yourself to come out and be vulnerable with people if you're not ready for that. Um, but um, the question is,
Someone's
and
asking, like, if they need support and they're not,
they're
they've
not getting
been
that
too
support.
afraid. Yeah. How do they, what would you tell them so they get it? Because it's vital for people to have support when they're going through so much.
I would say that not every space is a safe space, but finding those safe spaces where you can be more open about what's going on with you. Um, because that's really the only way to get support is to open up to people and say, hey, this is what's going on with me. Um, and, you know, we all hope that they react well and they're not completely thrown off by the vulnerability, but it happens sometimes. Um, but really being vulnerable is the only way to really get that true genuine support from other people is if you are supportive of the people around you and they become supportive of you um, and it's not always family, it's not even always friends. I mean, sometimes you can join a support group or something that um, just something specific to whatever you're going through. um,
As long
yeah.
as they reach out. Um, what's next for you? Tell us a little bit about the coffee shop, for example.
The coffee shop is in Springfield in the old Fairbanks Elementary building with the Drew Lewis Foundation and a few other fun little organizations in there. Um, we we thrive on events and meetups, so we're definitely planning some more meetups. We had a Makers Fest a while back that was really really successful and was really fun. Lots of artists came in and um, sold their goods and things like that. And um, we have groups that meet uh, every week, um, and that's a good place to get some of that support that we're talking about. Is the coffee shop. That's where a lot of my support comes from. Is the groups that meet there every week. We have some networking groups. We have some just some friend groups that get together once a week, and um, it's been really fun. It's been a nice community for me.
And the name of that coffee shop for people that want to follow on Facebook and keep up with what's going on?
Kaiju Coffee Springfield.
Okay, sounds good. What else do you have coming up that you want to share so we can make sure that we're following along and keeping up with Taylor?
Oh gosh. Let's see. I'm not speaking at any events anytime soon, but I am volunteering with some events. So I am helping with the E3 conference, the E3 Women's Conference here in Springfield. Um, so that's exciting. If you don't have tickets to that, you should go. It's not just for women, it's for men too, as long as you're, you know, supportive of your fellow women entrepreneurs. Um, what else? I think a lot of my stuff is not quite public yet,
Mhm.
so
Okay.
I'm gonna hold on to some of that.
Sounds good. When you're ready to share, come back. We'll look forward to seeing how you're progressing in your journey and how you can encourage and inspire other people that are dealing with the same stuff. And thank you so much for sharing and opening up. I think it's going to be very encouraging for other people to be able to connect with someone else dealing with what could seem as setbacks, but just like you said, a little spite and caffeine never hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
Yes.
Taylor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
For more, follow at Run Radio Station and be sure you're listening at runradio.net.